Imagine
A podcast.
where time drifts slowly,
A podcast.
where
Isaac.
carries you away.
So let me be clear. We tortured some folks.
If you don't like what we tell you to believe in, we'll kill
Hey,
you.
hi, hello. Well, I'm back in America, the greatest country on earth, but I still have some of my Euro Tour episodes left to show you. This one is my Swedish episode, and the guest is Rap Game's Edward Bernays, which is his legal Christian name. Edward was very nice to host me in his home in Stockholm. We've never met. We had never met prior to this. And I tend to wander through life pretty carefree. As a big, dumb white guy, the world is my oyster. I feel pretty safe for the most part. If I'm at some club and some beautiful women pay attention to me, I just assume it's some sort of honeypot. They're trying to get me, so I just run away from them. But with Edward here, he opened up his home to me. He took time off from work to show me around Sweden, which turns out to be an incredibly interesting country with a very noted, suspicious past. One of the nights we went to the Jeffrey Epstein Business School building, and we took a piss on it. And then we retraced the last steps of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, who was killed, assassinated mysteriously in a very JFK-esque sort of way. And we talk about all that on the show. And we talk about how Edward, who is from the United States, found himself in Sweden of all places. Well, it turns out it was from the video Kony 2012. He had a schizophrenic break because of Kony 2012, and he tells the story, and he talks about what it's like entering this manic state, what it feels like to be clinically paranoid, and how he eventually kind of found his way out of it, and how the whole world is slowly going insane, that we are being microdosed schizophrenia on a daily basis. Now, I know I haven't been uploading too much stuff recently. I've got so much for you coming up, so thank you for sticking around, listening to me and my thoughts and my guests. Thank you for my subscribers who support the show and make this whole silly thing possible. I still need more of you guys in order to fully commit to this thing. I will be doing videos. I've got so much fun stuff lined up. I really wish I had like a hype man to do this kind of self-promoting thing. I'm feeling very self-conscious about trying to do this right now. If you can't tell, does it come across a little odd? It feels weird coming out of me. But I have no problem promoting Edward's work. He has just started his own podcast because we don't have enough of those. It's called Infinite Jest. He, as a recovering manic person, still has, I think, one of the manic skills that I wish I had as a very normal person, which is the ability to just put out lots of information, get really sucked into stuff. And so he's already putting out incredibly detailed, well-researched episodes that include incredible editing. So it's maybe, being a little crazy is not all that bad. So I'll put the links to all of Edward's stuff in the show notes. And as usual, guys, stay cool. I know things are getting a little weird right now, and that every single day is the stupidest day in the history of America. But maybe we can take solace in that one day there will only be a American history. It won't be here anymore. I'm really looking forward to that.
They're gonna kill him.
Damn, Rap Game Edward Bernays, where'd you find
They're gonna kill him.
I said buying Louis bags at the Virgin Pass. I said buying Louis bags
They're
at
gonna
the
kill
Virgin Pass. I said buying Louis bags at the Virgin Pass.
Rap Game Edward Bernays, you crazy for this one.
It's over.
I'm in a Louis store with a Gucci mask. I'm I'm in a Louis store with a Gucci mask. I'm in a Louis store with a Gucci mask. I stop buying Louis.
People are listeners getting those little tingles. Are they getting all tingly?
I was thinking it's more somewhat like an MK trigger for a lot of people.
An MK trigger. Yeah. Crunchy pita hummus. I feel like that's too common, though. I think that they would be triggered too easily. It has to be a bit more rare to be an MK Ultra trigger.
How often do you listen to hummus pita chip ASMR? I mean,
I hang out with a lot of Israelis, I guess, you know.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm here in Stockholm with the great Rap Games Edward Bernays, who I'll be referring to from now on just as Edward. Edward is not his real name. He is an online anonymous poster, a heavy.
No,
hitter.
I didn't tell you. That's my Christian name.
Is your
Rap game. First name Edward. Yeah, my parents were really like.
Oh,
big,
okay.
Yeah.
That must have been fun for your teachers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here in Stockholm, a guest of Edward, who has lived in Sweden for 8 years. Is it?
12.
12 years?
Yep.
You've been here 12 years?
Yep.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, that'll line up with what we're talking about in a bit. And I've been getting the parapolitical tour of Stockholm these past few days, thanks to Edward. Last night, we peed on an Epstein school. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called Stockholm School of Economics, and it's like the top business school in Sweden, and it's the only school outside of the U.S. that Epstein ever donated money to. And the real best part of it is the money he donated funded an award called the Female Economist of the Year Award, where, I don't know, a student would just get some money and a job for being Epstein's cup of tea. Yeah, for being a perfect Nordic, Aryan, blonde, blue-eyed woman who's willing to, brutally make the tough decisions, as we say in the business world. That was nice to piss on that building.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely on another list now. Thank you for that.
Yes. Then we went to Olof Palme assassination site.
Yes, the Prime Minister, right? Prime Minister?
Yeah, former Prime Minister.
Former Prime Minister, leftist.
He was part of the Social Democrat Party, which, is left. It's shifted rightward over the decades. And the interesting thing is that it was like the most dominant party. I think it went like 50 years of unbroken government from like probably like World War II until 70s or 80s. And then that was Palme. I think he had 4-year term or 8 years. And then he got voted out and the right wing won. And then he came back like 4 years later.
Right.
So he kind of did a Trump thing of breaking it up. But yeah, I think he had like 12 years total. He was prime minister, spread out.
And he was murdered in February of 1986.
Yeah.
A very bizarre assassination, kind of like the JFK of Sweden, I think it's been compared to. And we retraced the steps of his last night from a theater to the spot where he was murdered. And then we walked up where the alleged murderer potentially escaped. But what were his credentials? Like, why do you think he was murdered? I mean, he was very close to the African National Congress, was one of the few countries supporting them, I guess Western countries supporting them. He had relations with Cuba. Mm-hmm. It's an all-around kind of good guy, it seems.
Well, yeah, it's that little thing we watched about it. He came from a privileged family. So they hated him because he was a class traitor, because he was pretty privileged. He got into politics and he was a brilliant guy, so he quickly climbed the ranks. But, I guess his guiding philosophy was this thing about equality and saying, hey, in Sweden, we're pretty good with the equality, but our job in the world needs to go beyond ourselves. We should also be advocating for equality around the world. And this was both in a sort of imperialist way about like equality of sovereignty and, it shouldn't be the U.S. empire running everything. But then, all the other economic and everything. And that's when you said, is he a leftist? Yeah, he would be a radical leftist by American standards right now. I'm sure he's further left than Bernie, I would say he is. But I mean, he was never explicitly like Marxist or. They were social democrats. They've always had that name, and that's the thing.
Right.
They don't cross the line into socialism. It's no, we're social democrats.
He did speak out against the Soviet Union in his career.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah. But see, this kind of was his philosophy about equality. I think even if he criticized the Soviet Union, he was also critical of him. I think his whole thing was, this is fucked up. They're both fucked up, and this fighting is bullshit. And this is why we should have equality. Why are these superpowers fighting and doing all this fucked up shit to each other? And, but again, I personally believe the Soviet Union did nothing wrong. So me saying this, I'm not agreeing.
Yeah, put that on the record.
Yeah.
Olof Palme is not the only left-leaning Swedish politician to have been mysteriously murdered. Your other boy, Dogs, right?
Yep. Dag Hammarskjöld. It's hard to pronounce. It's I'll spell it HAMMARSKJ, O with 2 dots, LD. So it took me like 5 years to remember the spelling, but and then dog, not DOG like the animal, but DAG. Dag Hammarskjöld. And I'm pronouncing that totally wrong. I'm sure a Swede would tell me. And yes, this was a bit earlier. He was. He also came from a privileged family. He went to the Epstein University for economics, and it wasn't
the Epstein University then. Let's make that very clear.
I don't know, man. This goes deeper than I thought. I mean, yeah, he went there, and then he got into, I guess, the UN, or maybe he was in the Swedish government, and then was a sort of like, delegate to the UN or whatever. But eventually, he became the head of the UN. General Secretary, I think you call it, and we had looked into this, that it was like he was seen as the safe pick. I think it was the Soviet was rejecting all these like more pro-Western candidates for General Secretary, and then this was the compromise, and everyone thought like, oh, he's pretty harmless. He's a diplomatic technocrat. Like he's not. He's a safe choice. But then he turned out not to be. At least in the eyes of the West, because he, started being critical of all the evil shit going on in Africa, this sort of like decolonial transition that was happening, I guess, in late 50s and early 60s. He was killed in 61, I believe, because JFK was still alive. They had met, and JFK said he was the most brilliant, diplomat he'd ever met and one of the most brilliant leaders, and JFK did, memorialize him. So I think it was 61 he was killed. But the big thing was in Africa, in the Congo, and I think it was with Belgium, there was this conflict going on with the mineral or the mining companies, and then the local population were fighting, and Dog got on a plane to try to go there in person and negotiate peace. And then on the way, his plane crashes, and no one really knows. Of course, there's suspicions. But none of the evidence. There wasn't any proof that it was a surface-to-air missile. There wasn't proof it was a bomb. So they had no idea. But over the years, the first thing was someone unearthed a CIA document for an operation, and that was where Angleton had written like, Dog is becoming a problem, we need to remove him soon. So not directly saying let's kill him, but that sounds like
implication.
That sounds like the
strange,
the CIA way they say it internally. I'm sure
they wouldn't just say we got to make his plane crash.
Yeah.
So
and then more documents have come out over the years that it was CIA was involved, Belgium was involved because of their mining interests there, and also that South Africa or like Rhodesians, all those Elon Musk people were. And then it's on his Wikipedia page, all the developments. It seems so fucking obvious. It was like CIA, Belgian, and then like South African Rhodesian like plot to just like, fuck this guy, he's trying to take our diamonds or blood diamonds or whatever, and they killed him. But then there were other geopolitical things with the wars and conflicts, and and the Cold War and everything. But yeah, it's like he was not radical at all. It's weird that he was just like a peacemaking guy. Like, come on, guys, let's not fight. And then they're like, this guy's fucking radical. You gotta go.
I'd argue the same thing with JFK. I mean, I think that he gets a lot of undue credit in the wake of his assassination. People think that JFK was some radical lefty. He absolutely was not. But all you have to do is just maybe they really don't like class traitors in particular, and they take that a little more seriously because that's how things might actually change. But since then, it appears that Sweden, of all of the Scandinavian countries, is the most right wing. And in my experience in this place so far, it's nice. It does feel like the woke Nazism. Like, this is woke.
That's a good description, man.
Yeah, Sweden is woke fascist. It's you're telling me how difficult it is just to even like smoke weed here. The alcohol rules are very bizarre. We only got grilled one time, but you did warn me that if you go to bars, typically on the weekends, I guess.
Yeah, but this was a Tuesday night.
It was a Monday night.
Monday.
Monday night. And we're getting off of a scooter, which also is very fascist. The e-scooters we were using were very fascist. They're very fun. I'm very embarrassed to be seen on them. I feel like an asshole, but that's how we've been getting around. It's been great.
And I mentioned to you the scooter company we've been using. That fool went to Epstein. The founder went to Epstein University, and he's like pretty fash on Twitter, like doing the whole like anti-woke and like pro-Trump yeah, it's so it's a legit fascist scooter company.
It is, and it's sometimes fascism can be a little fun, but I still feel bad about it. The e-scooters, I'm sorry, these e-bikes, they're fascist. I don't want to go any further, so I'm just going to end that there, but I've been having fun. That's how we've been getting around. It's been a great way to get around, but I still feel like this little tinge of guilt while we're on it, like breaking all of the rules, like going on sidewalks and shit. But we got grilled going into a bar, being like, "Are you okay?" That was the guy. He's Australian too. Did you notice that? Really?
Yeah, when we talked to him after, or English, Australian.
He was Australian or New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, when I walked in, he looked at me and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "What the fuck? Yeah, I'm fine. What do you mean?" And then I realized, oh, that's what you were talking about. That's what they do, is they want to make sure you haven't been drinking, I guess.
It's wild. Yeah, it's especially on a Friday. And they do it it's only to guys. But even when you have girls with you, they've done it where even when it's been equal guys and girls, and the girls go be the diplomats and talk to them, they'll talk to the girls and be like, "Oh, and them, how much those guys been drinking?" And the girls will be like, "I don't know, 3 beers." And it's like, "Are you sure? Are you lying?" And then they'll be like, "Fellas, how much have you had to drink?" Like, it's a full-on fucking. I'm surprised they don't do Prisoner's Dilemma and separate us and do a good cop, bad cop. Like, it's fucking wild, and I'm done with it. If they do that now, I mean, we went in because that was a light grilling we got. But when they do the real one, I just am at the point, fuck off. I'll go somewhere else. Yeah. I don't need this, dude. I don't want to give you money. Yeah.
So it is pretty right wing here. It's getting more right wing, I think, politically speaking.
I do want to say, you did say Sweden is the most right wing.
Between
it's
Finland
possible. No, Denmark's pretty fucking right. At least in the sense that they've been more anti-immigrant for longer. That in this, the refugee crisis was happening like during ISIS in like 2014. That was when the big wave of immigrants came here. And at first, everyone was kind of like, "Yeah, refugees welcome," whatever. The right wing was against it, but the left was very woke about it. But Denmark was like, "No, we're not taking any." And apparently it's really hard to even immigrate there, like through marriage or something. They're like very xenophobic, like no new friends. Like, even if you're like an American dude marrying a Dane, it's like, we want to make you jump through a lot of hoops before we'll let you join us. But I don't think
that's why their soccer team sucks though too, because they're not letting enough immigrants in. I mean, you guys got Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Alexander Isak.
Yeah.
The Danes have
white guys.
Yeah, white guys.
Their team captain collapsed on the field.
the heart attack. Yeah,
which was vaxxed. Oh, we don't know. But no, but that is the thing that's where I say Denmark, you could challenge it because Sweden does have a history of immigrants and refugees. We talked about Chileans came after, the real 9/11,
Pinochet,
the original 9/11.
9/11, yeah.
A lot of Kurds came in the 80s when Saddam was gassing them and stuff. And that was the history. We did some fucked up shit. We were sterilizing Africans like up to the 80s. And anyways, but we did have more of that history of, yeah, okay, we let refugees and we help other countries out. And so we do have a more mixed culture than Denmark. I don't think Denmark ever really did that. So they are more kind of cruising altitude right wing, I would say. But Sweden's definitely more reactionary now because of this. Like Denmark never let this, wave or horde of immigrants, as Swedes will say. So they're not freaking out about Muslims as much. But Sweden let a bunch in, fucking abandoned them, and then yes, there's been crime. They have they need to make a living. They gravitate towards crime, and and then everyone flips out and is like, Islam is incompatible with Sweden, and these people are fucking monsters, and they need to go back to their society. So that's the thing. You are correct that we are currently probably the most fash, but we've done a weird roller coaster up and down.
We also have some interesting fascist infrastructure. Particularly with the Bilderberg hotel we went to.
Yeah.
And you were explaining that there's actually a Swedish version of the Rothschilds who are way more powerful than anyone even knows.
Yeah, they're called the Wallenberg family, the Wallenberg. But I will say, they are not Jewish, even though there's a Berg. They are Swedish. So... but yeah, you had mentioned the Rothschilds. I got Wallenberg pilled. I'd always heard their name. They're just this, but it's you hear their name like the Rockefellers, but it's always associated with all the philanthropy that they've done. And they do. They have all these foundations, whatever. They give artist grants and all this shit. But they're still very active. It's been I think they're 4 generations of banking now, and they started one of the first banks in Sweden, and they also started the Swedish stock market. They brought speculative capitalism to Sweden in I don't know, the early 1900s or whatever. And they're still active. They're probably more powerful and rich than ever. There's a few brothers running shit, but one of the most prominent ones, speaking of Bilderberg, a few years ago, maybe it was 3-4 years ago, there was clips of Bill Gates and this Wallenberg guy just walk in and chat in, going from, meeting to meeting at the Bilderberg. So these guys are really tight with Bill Gates, and it's just you don't see them in front of the cameras so much. Anyways, the way I heard about them was my old weed dealer who was a conspiracy head, so we got along, but he was one of these dumb QAnon guys. So we'd be talking about a lot of real shit, but then he'd always steered into yeah, dude, but Patriots are in control. Trump's about to take down the Wallenbergs. And I'd be like, I don't know about that, man, but thanks for all the other info. And then I looked into it, and yeah, he was not crazy. It's fucking mind-blowing. Just their Wikipedia page, without digging deep. It's just how powerful they are.
You said they own 40% of the New York Stock Exchange?
Yeah, well, it's not the stocks. It's that they have 40% stake in the stock exchange itself.
That seems significant. I mean, I'm no economist, but I feel it's a pretty penny.
And one of the wildest things about them is for a long time, a few decades, their companies represented 60% of all GDP in Sweden, and it was something 40% of the population worked for one of their companies. So they were about as close as you can get to a what would you say, the feudalism here or something, where they own everything. It's yeah, you work for us, and and again though, they weren't. Sweden was a bit, we've had a strong labor organizing, and that's how Sweden has all this woke shit, is that we've been really good since going back to the early 1900s of organizing. And what's interesting is we haven't had so much clashes. You know, we don't have. It wasn't that the rich were gunning down labor organ. You know, they have made concessions over it. It's like, oh, okay, fuck all these workers. Yeah, all right, we got it. We're gonna give them, you know, weekends now, or we're gonna give them healthcare, or you know. And so that's what's been cool about Sweden. But you know, you look at it the other way, and it's just like the people running this country, like the Wallenbergs, they just keep throwing us, you know. It's like throwing us a bone. Like, yeah, okay, sure. We own 40% of the country. Fine, we'll have 39.5%.
Right,
if you'll
right,
shut the
yeah.
fuck up, like.
Which honestly, it would seem nice in America. It's almost.
I know,
that's how
yeah.
bad things are in America.
I know.
It's like actually, it wouldn't be so bad. So, Sweden is an interesting place. Very suspicious things going on here. Definitely parapolitically oriented. How did you, an American, end up here in Stockholm?
Well, yeah, the way that most people do, which is a girl, or that was my ticket at least. But even before I'd met her, I was, dude. Okay, I had a Fell For It Again award with Obama won. You know, I was like 18 when Obama was running, and I really
I
believe.
want to slow down because you're burying the punchline here. You came to Sweden because of Kony 2012.
We are going to make Joseph Kony a household name, not to celebrate him, but to bring his crimes to the light. And we are starting this year, 2012.
I think that's, or maybe that's like not the perfect way.
Sure,
of putting it,
yeah,
but
okay.
Just for the audience, just for a marketing sense, you came to Sweden because of Kony 2012.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the funny way to summarize it. But what I was gonna say was, I was already fucking, like, when Occupy kicked off, I was already like, fuck America. I got duped by Obama. This is all fucking sus. But I wasn't full schizo about it. I was just like, yeah, this is whack. Like, so I was already like, dude, I'm gonna get out of this country. And I had been idealizing Scandinavia. And I was like, I need to go there for like, and I have like health issues, so I really wanted like healthcare and everything. And then I think I, manifested a Swedish girlfriend appearing in my life, and we were long distance for a bit, and then I moved here. But yes, as you said, the real triggering moment was Kony 2012, and going from just a moderately paranoid, American, like, anti-American or whatever, to a full-blown schizo meltdown thanks to this African warlord who eats babies and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then we actually, when you told me this, we rewatched the Kony 2012 video. I think it was the first time I've rewatched it since it came out in, what was it?
2012.
December of 2011 was when it came out.
No, well, this version dropped March 2012. Because
okay.
I like day
well.
two, like after the Oprah tweet, then I discovered everyone's posting it. And yeah, like I've told you, it was real fast of being like, this is sus. Like immediately. Like I was like, wait, what?
Let's I'm sure everyone remembers Kony 2012, and it's been probably many years since our listeners have even thought of this. But for those of you who don't remember, it was a viral YouTube campaign put together by this guy named Jason Russell, who is one of the most like clearly homosexual closeted gay men I have ever seen. And he made this like really high production, heart tugging video.
Dude, they said the budget was $1.5 million.
And he's been doing this for 10 years, this guy. So, basically, he made that campaign to oust this warlord named Joseph Kony, who led the Lord's
Resistance Army,
the LRA, that when he first encountered him in, I think, 2004 in Uganda, although by the time this campaign was released, Kony was no longer in Uganda.
Whereabouts unknown. He's somewhere in Africa.
Yeah.
We're just guys. Let's gotta go all around Africa looking for him.
But he made this brilliant campaign that everyone saw. I think it hit like 100 million YouTube views in like a day. Was it?
No. It was not that much. It was I think it was 10 million in 24 hours. But at the time,
Yes.
this was early days of YouTube. That was pretty wild. But I think it was 100 million within a month, maybe. We
Anyway, at the time it was significant. We digest social media different, and they also run their metrics differently. They lie now about how many views there are. But at the time, this was one of the most watched videos ever on YouTube.
Okay, it only has about 100 million total, but it got 1.3 million in the first 24 hours. And then the big thing was it was the first video ever to reach 1 million likes.
Okay.
Yeah, like ever.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And I think we both had similar responses looking at this thing, being like, okay, this is weird. First of all, I do not like being emotionally manipulated like that, because it was very emotional. I mean, there's this boy, young Ugandan boy named Jacob, and he breaks down talking about how he misses his brother who was murdered by Kony.
He told me more about his brother and what he would say to him if he were still alive.
I love you, but now I miss you. So it is better when we meet. We are going, even if we are not going to meet, but we may meet in heaven, you see. So it is better. I will not talk much. I will start something. Because if I saw my brother once again, I don't.
And how can you, like, even if you are like 50% sociopathic, you'd probably see that and just it would affect you. So this effective campaign that went viral, I was suspicious of it. You were particularly suspicious of it. So two things. Tell me like your initial response to the Kony video, and then I would like to know how it felt for you rewatching this thing 20 plus or 12 years later.
Yeah, so first, I just want to mention, you talk about Jason Russell, and I just want to mention the group that he worked for. It was not just the one guy. It was called Invisible Children. It was a Christian NGO. And this is the thing, I'd already been well aware of them because through going to church in California, this was so funny. California Christianity is hilarious, where like what guy
about
is. That it's always this like cool, like, hey guys, I play like acoustic guitar and I wear like a skateboarding tee and like I surf and like Jesus rocks, man. There's a specific brand of like California Christian. But I was aware of this because this group would go to churches. And, you know, as we learned, the final version we know was not like, they were pushing this doing various cuts of this idea for like 10 years.
Oh yeah, if you have to watch the High School Musical parody Kony thing they did, but I think it's 2006.
Yeah,
and it is. I mean, it is so incredibly gay.
Yeah,
and
also out of touch that you're like, hey guys, let's go get this warlord, and they're like being pop stars, like, and being cute like theater kids. It was really weird.
Very disjointed. It didn't work. Although I think that video would do much better now than a sincere Kony video, just because of how much the culture has shifted. So right, Jason Russell, suspicious of a bizarre Christian guy, because the story is he wanted to make a movie and just randomly went to Uganda. Now I know Uganda has a pretty strong Christian religious political power.
Yeah, missionaries and stuff.
Lots of missionaries, lots of homophobia. So it's dude, what are you thinking going there, man? Like everybody.
Well, he heard it's easy to kidnap kids there, so maybe it was that.
And that's how he discovered the whole Kony story. And for 10 years almost, he dedicated his life to getting Kony, which, you know, I guess good for you. I mean, if you're going to dedicate yourself to a cause, a niche cause in a way, just because I think at the peak of Kony's power, he had 3,000 soldiers. But the way he would acquire power was quite brutal. I mean, they would kidnap children. He would have them allegedly murder and sometimes eat their parents.
I mean,
who knows? You know,
dude. As when we were watching some videos, they accuse him of every heinous thing you could do, and that's where it gets.
And the poster, we can't forget the poster.
Oh my God!
There's like a Shepard Fairey Obama Hope style poster, and it's Kony with the Hitler and Osama like standing behind
him. He's at the front of the line,
and it says Kony the worst.
Yeah, the worst.
That's
worst.
Tell me what happened when when this video came out and how it catalyzed your mental state.
Well, yeah, just as I was saying before, I was aware of this Invisible. I think I'd even been to an event at a church, so I was vaguely aware, oh yeah, there's a little Christian group charity, they help Africa. So when it came out, I was like, oh, that's crazy. I know this group. I thought there was this small little church, like this, Christian, California Christians that just go around and be like, Africa's fucked up, man. So I was aware of them. So that was like the first interest, maybe like, oh yeah, wow, that's weird. And again, as we talked about, it just overnight was everywhere. So that was another like first impression. It's just like going on Facebook and literally every fucking post is that video, and from celebrities to friends, like everyone. So that was weird. It's like, wow, I got to watch this immediately. Everyone's talking about this, and then I see it's Invisible Children. Okay, interesting. And as you said, it's very emotional. The first time I watched it, I'm like captivated. I'm engaged. I'm like, wow, whoa, this is like, because it's very well done. You mentioned the Ugandan kid, but we should also mention Jason. He's really the star of this. It's all about him. And then he brings in his little kid. And it's just...
Gavin.
Yeah, it takes like 10 minutes.
Why is Gavin such a Christian name, by the way? Gavin is such like a little Christian boy's name.
And very California Christian. Gavin Newsom. Yeah. Like, that's what I feel, like... I feel like I probably had a youth pastor at one point in Gavin. I don't know. But yeah, it's so funny rewatching it that it takes like 8 minutes or something for Jacob to show up. Like, it's so long about, I'm Jason Russell, and I'm like, and this is my son, and he loves life, and he's just a kid who loves life. But anyways, I found this African kid whose life is fucked up, and then I told my kid, and my kid was sad. And it's like, what does this have to do with you, dude? Like, and they're just so emotionally manipulative in that way.
I think that he was onto something, though, because at least in the algorithm world, I am frequently encouraged to put my face in front of things. I mean, when you look at the videos that are successful these days, when people talk about the news, is they green screen themselves in front of an article someone else already wrote. Like, you have to put your face in front of things. So maybe he figured it out. Maybe his kind of narcissism, what the algorithm always wanted.
I would challenge that because this was a while ago, and I'm sure there was deep, dark algo stuff going on with YouTube that we weren't even. But all these best practices nowadays, that didn't exist back then. It was much more. I remember because I was making YouTube videos at the time and had a lot of friends making YouTube videos, and there were some best practices like, oh, make a video under 3 minutes
his is 30, by the way.
I know, and that's another wild thing about this is you didn't watch 30-minute YouTube videos back then. Maybe if it's like someone uploaded a fucking episode of a sitcom or whatever, like best SNL sketch mashup or something, but no one made like, again, that's what I'm saying. This is different times. No one had video podcasts. No one had a online news show. I remember at the time thinking, again, I was critical of America, and I was like, oh, I make videos. Maybe I should do like my own low-budget daily show type thing. And then I was like, no, that's weird. Like, no one does that. I'd look fucking weird. So I just want to say it was a completely different media environment then.
Absolutely.
But yeah, maybe he knew. Maybe given how sus he was, maybe he had insider YouTube knowledge of best practices and stuff.
I mean, the Oprah retweets is really what apparently sent it off, because I think in the first day he only got 70,000 hits or whatever, but Oprah posted about it on Twitter, and that seems to be what gave it its big launch. It's escape velocity. But I still want to know. I think your connections to it is part of this as well, part of the paranoia. But how did this video contribute to your breakdown?
So, sorry, I have to give more context. But at the time, at the time, so I'm from LA, and at the time, me and a bunch of buddies had decided to rent a big mansion, so to speak, in the Hollywood Hills. This was after the real estate collapse, right? So we realized, wow, we can like live so fucking cheap in a luxurious house if we get like 7 guys to come together. So we were doing that, and that was already, you know, I was going a bit manic already out of excitement. I was like, wow, like, you know, so I was already in this weird state of my life.
Primed, in other words.
Yeah, I was. So, and, you know, living with a bunch of dudes, wasn't getting much sleep and doing a lot of partying and all that stuff. But anyways, I'm in a good mood. I'm feeling great about life. And then it drops. And as I was saying, it's tugging at my heartstrings for the first half or whatever. And then it gets into the call to action, their plan. And immediately I'm like, what? Like, we want to go to war? We want to send troops? Like, immediately I'm just like, this is fucking sus. And that was the thing. Even though I was critical of America at the time, as I said, I knew Obama was bullshit, but I still was a tech optimist. It was the early days of Facebook. Literally, Instagram had just launched like a month before. Yeah. But I similar to the bullshit this video pitches to us, I really thought like, oh, wow, man, like Facebook's around. It's like democratizing like speech and media and like, yeah, dude, we're going to like organize on here and like kick out the old guard and like the kids are, like seeing Zuck is like, yeah, Zuck's going to save us with this like alternative platform where we can like organize and like speak out. So I was in that mindset still. And then also I had never had a smartphone at this point. I got my first smartphone like a month. And that was also a weird life shift that played into this. But anyways, immediately I knew it was sus. And then again, I'm living in this big mansion. I start grabbing everyone. Hey, check this out. You have to see this. And like, isn't this fucking sus? And, you know, they'd be like, no, I don't know. And I'd go like one by one and be showing it to everyone, and no one agreed or saw my point. They thought, and then it starts spiraling. I'm posting a bunch of shit about Kony.
Do you remember any of the posts in particular?
Yeah, and this was like the inciting moment of when I really snapped.
Okay.
So I was already snapping, just going through this like, yo, like this liberating technology. I thought like smartphones and Facebook. It just clicked. It was a very Philip K. Dick, Valis, pink beam in my brain going, this is propaganda tool. This is surveillance. We're going into a 1984. Like we're already in it. But it's a brave new world. Like we have the brave new world optimism, but we're actually building Big Brother and we're already in it. So I'm already spiraling about that. And then I'm posting shit about Kony. And I don't know the exact words, but it was something saying like watching Kony feels like watching the planes crash into the Twin Towers in slow motion, but everyone's too like captivated by the spectacle of it to like know, to understand what's going on. And the weird manic connection I was trying to make was I was watching everyone get swept up into this Kony thing and then get stoked about war. And I felt, you know, like 9/11 was this like false flag to get us into a war, but through fear, now they're trying to get us into a war, but through this, you know, woke optimism, let's save the world. Like, so that was the weird metaphor I was trying to make, right? And then I just noticed, like, it got like no likes. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I have a lot of friends on here. And then I wrote a post saying, did anyone see my last post? Can you see it on my page? And I have these DMs, I have screenshots. Some girl writes to me and is like, hey, like, I just checked your page. Like, I don't see that. And then I'm like, wait, no, hold on, check again. Do you see this one about the Twin Towers? And then she goes, oh, that's weird. Now I see it. It wasn't there before, and now it just came up. And then that was then, again, another veil shattering of I'd never thought, oh, they might hide certain posts. They might, and then that's when I had this realization like, yo, they can fucking, manipulate reach and no one was thinking that or talking about that at the time. Everyone just thought it was, yeah, you post and it's all like, there's no algorithm, there's no boosting or muting of certain content. So that was when with just the video, it was sort of a more abstract thing. It wasn't like targeting me, but then with being like, oh wow, my commentary on this is being blocked from my friends. That's when I really went schizo of like, oh, like now this is directly affecting, or like I'm seeing how this affects me personally, not just like US trying to go to war.
But personally, but how personally? I mean, like directly, did you think you were being gang stalked and monitored?
Well, that came later. But yeah.
How much later? Because you ended up in the hospital, you said.
Yeah, 5153 times.
What's that?
Oh, when you force in California, that's like the code for being forcibly.
And this is when was the first time this happened?
Okay, so I think it was March, first week of March or something. This
when the Kony video first came out, and it was the date of the night, the cover of the night thing. I think it was called
420 was
420. So they gave you like a month-ish to.
Yeah, March 5th is when it dropped. So it must have been March 6th is when it was blowing up.
Yeah,
I had just moved into this house like March 1st. It was my first week in this mansion. And then let me think. So it was literally within like 4 days after was when this like hiding posts thing happened. And that's when I really lost it. And then I think I was put in the mental hospital maybe a week after. It was probably within a week or within a week and a half of Kony, maybe 2 weeks.
So what did you do that got you 5150?
So I was living in this mansion with like 7 other guys, and it was already really tough to sleep because people would be out partying, coming home at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was just not able to sleep. Both of like my paranoia and my mania, how I was getting all excited about exposing this truth, and then just like the situation I was in, it was hard to sleep. So I'm losing sleep, and then I'm just getting more and more manic and sort of delusional, and starting, like being suspicious, starting to think, oh, it was like, this is when the gang stalking part starts coming in. When I start getting like suspicious of my roommates and being like, what the, and it's funny because it's like now everyone stares at their phone all the time, but these are like the early days of iPhone. So I'd be like trying to talk to my roommate, like, yeah, dude, like, and they just, always be, every time they're looking at their phone, I kept thinking, oh, they're getting like instructions of what to say. That's when I was going into real mania and paranoia. Yeah. But again, just a perfect storm, this thing of like, the stress of like, and the mania of having this life change and moving in and being all excited about life, and then going through this with a bunch of people around that, like, I don't know, if I was living at home with my parents or something, like, I don't think I would be spiraling as much. But when you have like 8 people you're living with and they're all kind of telling you the same thing, and that's when it's like started getting to the paranoia, gang stalking type vibe.
And so what was the event that brought you to the hospital?
The first time, there wasn't really a specific event. I think everyone was just, okay, no, actually, I remember. Sorry, it's been a long time. This is all coming back to me. One night, a weird thing, by the way, when we moved in this mansion, I remember when we were doing the first viewing, it was up in the hills, and there's just a mountain behind us, and I saw this weird looking dude climbing up the mountains with an axe and starts chopping down a tree, like the next door neighbor, but he looked like this fucking like meth head Nazi type guy. I'm like, what is this guy doing up here in this rich ass neighborhood? And then we realized the house next to us was clearly meth heads and meth addicts, it was a trap house. Like, these people did not afford to live there. And so that, just to say that this isn't delusional, I had a top floor room looking down on the street, and one night it's like 5 a.m. I can't sleep. I hear a car pull up outside. I look out. It's the classic black Lincoln car. A dude in a suit gets out, goes to the trunk, pulls out a duffel bag, and then one of these from the meth head house, someone comes out and they swap duffel bags, and the dude puts it in the trunk and drives off. So that did not also help my paranoia of being like, there's fucking some Breaking Bad meth head shit next door, and I just watched like a big drug deal and a kind of Lynchian drug deal. Not what you'd picture, but, you know, some fucking guy pulling out, it looks like, you know, whatever, the driver of a celebrity, and gets out and does this duffel bag exchange. But around that time, the real inciting incident was I just flipped out for some reason, got really paranoid, and I started running out of the house, and I threw my phone down like the mountain, down a hill. It wasn't a full mountain. And I ran all the way down and then into Hollywood and just started wandering the streets. And, you know, I had the typical, it's quite embarrassing, but the sort of messianic thing about like, oh, I'm here to, like, so I remember I just like walked up to people and I was like, hey man, if you like, here's my wallet. Like if you want to go like, and my pin is blah, blah, blah. If you want, like, I don't need money anymore. And I was just like wandering the streets of Hollywood like that. Wandering around. I had this weird thing where I felt sonar in my head, like the dolphin, like bloop. That was inside my head. So I thought they were tracking my brain somehow. I'm sure that was just some physical response to stress, like but it felt like in my head I was hearing like the submarine, like Doppler, whatever. And eventually I end up at a bar where there's a comedy showing going on that I'd been to before. And I randomly I'm just talking to people being weird. And I run into a girl I know, and she's wasted with a date. And the guy seems totally sober. And I started talking to her and rambling. I'm like, I don't have my phone. Like, I threw my phone away, and like, can you drive me home, whatever. And I remember she let me borrow her phone, and I called my mom and left a weird voicemail. And then they called an ambulance on me. But when the ambulance showed up, I was like, nah, I'm not getting in that. And they're like, come with us. And I was like, nah. And I like ran away. And then actually a comedian ended up giving me a ride home, but not before I jumped on the hood of his car. And then he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyways.
And that comedian was Joe Rogan.
Yes, exactly. And then I made it home that night. Oh yeah, I had no wallet. I remember I got in a random taxi. I started trying to drive to my mom's, going down the freeway for like 20 minutes. And then I'm like, anyways, go back to Hollywood. It drives me back. And then I have no wallet and no money, and I get to the house. I'm like, I can go inside and write you a check. And like, anyways, it was a fucking wild night. But I get home like 7 a.m. and my roommates were, they were worried about me. He just fucking disappeared. He doesn't have his phone. So I think it was like the day after that was like, I remember waking up in my bed. All the roommates were around me, and it was very like gentle. It was just very like, hey man, like you got to come with us. Like we were really worried about you. And then they took me to the hospital, and it was like kind of chill, but I was still freaking out, thinking like,
they're out to get me.
Yeah, they're going to kill me in here, whatever. But I guess I was in such a weird, like, spiritual mindset that I wasn't really going, like, schizo CIA. It was just more like, whoa, like, something weird's going on. Like, so that was the first time. And then that leads to, as I was telling you, I did freak out that time in the hospital. And I started flipping out, and they actually pinned me to the bed and fucking hit me with a shot. So I have this terrifying moment thinking they're about to kill me. And then I just wake up in the hospital, in the mental hospital. I was in the ER. And I'm like, drug the fuck up, whatever. I'm like, fuck, I'm in here. This is weird. And I'm still thinking like I'm in some weird game. This is them punishing me. They're trying to silence me, blah, blah, blah. And this is when I look at the news, my second day in the mental hospital, and Jason Russell's jacking it in San Diego.
That's not your average crazy person going on a naked, obscenity-filled rant in the middle of the day. It's Jason Russell, the filmmaker behind the Kony 2012 video that exploded on the internet.
Jason Russell was, had a breakdown?
To put it mildly, yes. Jason hit the streets of San Diego naked, cursing, smacking the pavement, and screaming about the devil. Eventually, he was detained on a psychiatric hold.
I guess it is a lot of pressure when you got the #1 video on the internet.
Rebecca Black didn't do that. Either he's sick or he's tweaked out, and either way, it's sad.
Well, Jason's wife says he doesn't have problems with drugs or alcohol. She says his behavior was brought on by exhaustion and dehydration.
But a lot of people crack under pressure.
He just cracked.
But here's the thing, I mean, he's successful. He did what he wanted to accomplish.
Okay, to be fair, he was not masturbating. Nor is there evidence he was on drugs. But Jason Russell, literally in the days leading up to the Cover the Night Kony event, has a public mental breakdown. TMZ posts him naked, slapping the concrete, just going absolutely ape shit on the streets of San Diego. And that effectively kind of kills the whole Kony Cover the Night movement. Maybe, who knows how it might have been had he not gone insane. He was getting significant backlash. There was lots of criticism of the Kony movement, and he also seemed to have been going through a similar mental breakdown, like a lot of paranoia, incredible amount of stress, no sleep, and this maybe led to this psychotic break that he had.
Yeah, his excuse was exhaustion and dehydration. And yeah, it is true. He became the most famous guy in the world, overnight. Yeah. And he had said in that Oprah, post-mortem interview after he got better, he said something like, I did 17 interviews in 48 hours. And Oprah was like, wow. So yeah, he was like, it seemed like he was just going through this gauntlet of not only having to go to give interviews, but then I'm sure behind the scenes they're having like, so
everyone's calling him gay. I mean, that's the thing. If you're a supremely closeted individual who's in denial of their own sexuality, even though it manifests itself so outwardly, and the whole world starts saying you're gay, and you still can't see yourself that way, imagine the stressors. So I actually, in the TMZ, I think we watched the Young Turks review of it, because that was like one of the clips that we could find. And one of the hosts, not Cenk, but some other loser, he's like giggling about it. He's laughing that this guy is having this awful, like quite possibly one of those awful moments a human being can have where you're publicly, internationally humiliated forever. And they're laughing at it. And that part upset me.
I don't know if you remember, they did a full South Park episode about it too.
I don't
shortly
remember
after.
that.
No, that's why I said jacking it in San Diego, because that was the whole joke. They did a whole song like jacking it, in like, and jacking it in San Diego, like, and this was shortly after, because I was still manic when I remember this episode coming on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again why I kept. So my episode lasted, like I'd say, like 4 months. Technically,
that's a long time.
Yeah, with ups and downs. It would slow down. But I'd say before I was like fully out of it was 3 or 4 months. But that's what was weird, is why I kept thinking it was some game, some gang stalking, because I go in the mental hospital, which, by the way, the jacking it thing happened March 15th or 16th. So if we say the video came out the 5th, the 6th it blew up.
Wow, 10 days he lost it in 10 days.
Yeah, and me too. I'm saying like that's what I started going schizo probably March 6th, and then I'm in the hospital by the 15th, 14th or 15th. So it was about a week, 8 days maybe. So I wake up in the hospital, and then he's jacking it in San Diego, or what? Not jack, but naked.
But he's having a synchronistic mental breakdown with you.
And again, this is where I thought it was some like game. I'm like, oh, this is like. This is a game of chess almost. Okay, they throw me in the mental hospital. That's a hit on me. Oh, but now a good thing is happening. Now like this guy's going crazy, and maybe that's a positive sign for me that like I'm winning in my truth battle. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like,
oh my God.
No, but that was like, and then though the South Park thing, I want to say that got out, and I'm lit back at the fucking mansion, and then the South Park episode comes on, and that's where I'm also like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Like, I went to the hospital, then this guy goes to the hospital, and now South Park is just fucking mocking this guy. So I kept going like, oh, maybe I'm winning this, like Kony's defeated and South Park's just roasting the shit out of him. So yeah, it was just all these weird, like the progress of the Kony thing kept triggering me in different ways,
So how then did you come to Sweden as a result of this Kony breakdown?
Well, I was going to tell you. So I went to the hospital 3 times, and the second time I remember was also a wild thing where I didn't realize it at the time. I was freaking out. I was staying up all night, really losing it. And then my friends, this time just 2 of my friends, 2 of my roommates were like, "Hey, let's take you to the hospital, man." Like you and I went with them. Weirdly enough, this meth head house, as we were driving, one of their cars was waiting on a side street and then started following us and driving along with us like the whole way to the hospital. So I was like, I was flipping out that like I watched the meth heads do a big drug deal. It was just fucking weird that they were like literally following us, or it was just maybe a coincidence, but it was legit their car driving with us through Hollywood all the way to the hospital. So that was weird. But then I get to the hospital. I was with my Swedish girlfriend at the time, long distance. And she was supposed to come out and visit me, but I was losing it. She was going to come help me. And then, but anyways, I get to the hospital, and then somehow they like say the date, like, "Oh, and today's date, April 1st, blah, blah, blah." And then that made me lose it, being like, oh, fuck, it's April Fool's Day. I'm back in the hospital. This is like another troll of me. Like, I don't know. This is like an intentional troll or something. And then I really lost it. And then I got sent to a second mental hospital. This time they sent me far away up to like Santa Barbara, and it was a super sus. There's so many weird things that happened in there that was where the gang stopped. It felt like I was being in some like MK shit. One thing is I'm a big David Foster Wallace fan, and when I got there, so as I said, my ex was going to come and visit me, and then I end up in the mental hospital like the day before she's coming. And this is March. On the wall, there's a drawing that a patient had done of a guy looking super sad with glasses and a bandana on his head, and said like Happy Valentine's Day or something like that. So I'm like getting there, I'm like, what the fuck? Why is there like a sad David Foster Wallace drawing on the door? Then another thing was, my buddies and I had made this comedy video involving Rush Hour 2. And when I get there at the window where the nurses sit at, it was like, "Tonight, our movie night," and they had a DVD of Rush Hour 2 in the window. And I'm like, what the fuck? This whole thing is, they're just trolling me, like, and tons of weird shit like that. Weird patients interacting with me. I mean, it's a loony bin, but it felt a lot of weird, like, targeted type stuff, it felt like. But weirdly enough, a couple years ago, I Googled this place. I'm trying to figure out, why did I get sent up there? What is that? It had been burned down. Someone fucking torched it.
After you were there.
Yes. Like, I don't know, a couple years after. It was a couple years after. So I only learned that like 3 or 4 years ago about it being burned down. Luckily that I didn't go back into a Schizophrenic episode. But yeah, that was the weirdest hospital visit, because of these weird, that was where I was like, this is a fucking mind control or, experiment type thing. And then I end up there the 3rd time. That's when I started getting better, when I got out of that. So yeah, I went from beginning of March till I think mid-July or early July. And then the way it ruined my life was I got out. I couldn't live in the mansion anymore. Like they had kicked me out. Nicely, of course. They're my friends. We're like, dude, like you can't, like we can't sleep worrying if you're going to kill yourself here or whatever. So, and I was like homeless for a bit and like sleeping in my car, crashing on couches. My family wouldn't let me come back. They were like scared of me, and they thought I was just a drug addict. So they're like, you need to go to a halfway house. You can't come back here. So I was like kind of homeless for a little bit. And then eventually, I guess I got on unemployment. I'd blown all my money. I was fucking broke. And I guess I got on unemployment, and then I managed to get my own shitty little apartment in LA. Piece of shit. And it was like a block away from the Scientology Center. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, the gangsta, a lot of this had to do with Scientology. Because I had done a parody comedy video making fun of Scientology that had gone really viral. And then as I moved to LA, and there's Scientologists everywhere, dude. Like every fucking corner has a Scientology building.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting paranoid. I knew they do take revenge on their critics. They are known for literally gang stalking. That they'll send Scientologists to like follow a journalist and like fuck with them. And that's what I thought. I thought, oh, they're getting revenge on me now. It's like the Scientologists are coming after me, because there was a lot of weird shit like that where when I'd be out in my mania running around LA, some weird fucking person would just have the weirdest interaction with me. You know, it was just like I was just attracting weirdos like coming up and having weird interactions with me. So that was a big part of it, was the Scientology thing. But yeah, anyways, I ended up broke, depressed as fuck, living in this shitty apartment on my own. And then that's when my ex was like, hey, like, you got nothing there. Like, come here, you can study for free, get health care, just move here. So I came on this, we didn't have to get married. I came on this cohabitation visa where you can just move to Sweden if you live with a partner. So yeah, it was basically my life fell apart. I had nothing left in America. I felt I needed a fresh start. So I moved here. And then that was true. Completely turned my life around, got my master's degree here. My career was pretty good for a while, doing mentally sane, besides being a conspiracy theorist. And it was good for about 10 years until my second manic breakdown here in 2022.
Which, what's the brief version of that? Because, but basically you had a pilot for a TV show, or
yeah. Let's just say Let's just say yeah, I've done some film things.
Okay, we'll end it there.
Yeah,
but all right. So what was it?
Real
like?
heads no, but I don't want to. I don't want to.
Fair. What was it like then for you watching the Kony video almost 13 years after the fact?
Well, we watched it together.
Yeah.
And obviously, you heard I was just yelling shit out the whole time,
we
fucking bull. Yeah, we had to keep on.
It took us an hour to watch it.
Yeah, but to be honest, it was fun. It was great actually, because it wasn't like that. It brought up any trauma or anything. In fact, it actually felt good, like validating. Like me watching it now in our new world where we all now agree there's psyops. Elon Musk drops the word psy. We're in this more paranoid world, and watching it again, just laughing at all the fucking stupid shit in it and these little subliminal, propaganda things in. What was the moment? There was something really weird about, for instance, okay, this is a random one, but like, there's already 100 military advisors there to give technology and advice, but we need more troops. They were saying, the good news is troops are already there, but we need more. And the government refuses to send more troops. And then, this was what made me laugh hard. It's this thing about we went to Washington and we tried to tell them what's going on, but they all said we will never get in a conflict unless it directly affects U.S. security or economy. And it's like. And then they're like, the vibe, the tone from the Invisible Children people is like, boo, these losers are pussies and don't want to get in a conflict unless it benefits them. That's lame. We should go. And it's like, dude, like Iraq war, or still going, we're still going on, but we all have agreed now is blood for oil. And then you're like doing this thing about, the worst thing about politicians is that they don't want to go to war right now.
It was definitely a time travel vehicle to watch, because it was that era of the millennial hipster.
Yes.
That like the wool beanie, like Pete Wentz. They even played a Mumford & Sons song.
And they showed Pete Wentz, remember, because he was a supporter.
Yeah, Invisible Children.
And as we said, this is Obama term 1. This is beginning of, so he hadn't even run for re-election yet.
Yeah.
And sure, Occupy was going on and people were questioning, this is 2012. So a lot of people had turned on Obama, but he still had, as I said, even me, who was like super anti-American imperialism, all this shit, I thought 9/11 was an inside job at the time, all that shit. As I said, even I fell for the tech thing. Even I was like, whoa, look at Occupy. Like, we all organized on Facebook.
Arab Spring.
Yeah, look at the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
So even a cynic like me, and someone who was thinking both Democrats and Republicans are evil, Obama's a sham, even I was like, but we can us smart progressive hipsters can use the power of technology to really stand up and make change. But yeah, then of course normies were way more like slacktivist pilled, as they called this. Like, sorry, saying this was slacktivism,
right?
And yeah, everyone thought, oh, we're gonna change the world. We're gonna put on some Mumford and Sons. We're all gonna become vice journalists, and
it really is a relic of that Obama era lazy hopefulness. That all you gotta do is just vote. All you gotta do is put up a poster, and the world will become better. And so it was interesting to see that then. It's funny watching it now where like my spidey senses, which tingled when I first saw it, it doesn't feel like a classic psyop for some reason to me. It's almost like there's an innocence like to the Kony 2012 thing that doesn't feel like it was intelligence that deployed it, although I don't know.
But see, this is why Kony was a brain-shattering thing for me, because I was like, yes, psyops are real, propaganda in the Iraq War, propaganda in all these wars, propaganda about capitalism and us being, the best country in the world and all this shit. But okay, even though I did flag it on the first view, the reason I would have not gone schizo over another piece of propaganda, if there was some other psyop going on. But this one, as you said, that it didn't feel like a traditional psyop. It felt like some bizarro world psyop where instead of using fear, like, say, the Iraq War, you're using this optimism, but for the cause of imperialism. And that right there is some... And this is why I lost it, because it felt like, oh, this is maybe like what real fascism is, where you don't know you're in it. You're actually like, this is how the Nazis were like a woke movement in the sense it was like
it's like Sweden.
No, but it was like it didn't. Sure, he was like the Jews, but like the energy behind it, Nazi youth and stuff. It was like, yeah, like Nazis, Germany, we're gonna like we're building back and
sure.
and see, that was maybe where the veil shattered for me a little bit, is like, oh, we traditionally think it's just this like domineering, it's just like Hitler making angry speeches, or it's a dictator, and then looking around being like, we're all falling for this, and we're about to think that war is cool, and like we're excited about like, yeah guys, let's send troops to Africa to save the world. And it's like, that was where it was a real like paradigm shift for me, of going like, wow, their tactics are so much more sophisticated than I could imagine. And me thinking I'm vigilant and I'm even I have fallen for, not Kony, but fallen for the Facebook activism and independent press is so yeah, as you say, it was just kind of, I'm sure we could find. Okay, actually, here's the historical parallel. The only thing I can think of that's similar, and I've tweeted this before, saying, to me, 1968 is one of the most interesting periods. If I could time travel anywhere, I'd go there. Because this shift from real organizing and political activism against Vietnam, against racism, all this shit, and then the way Grateful Dead went and gave everyone acid, and everyone became apolitical hippies, but that they thought that was woke. We're gonna heal the world through acid, man, and good vibes, and like fix yourself first. Like, we're gonna fix ourselves through drugs, and then the world would be a better place. And that is what I look at that era of like Obama won as, that we were going through the millennial version of that sort of hipster, and the original hippie co-option,
individualism.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, it's very hard to find similar examples where, it's kind of like,
the only other thing that the Kony thing reminded me of was the Black Lives Matter 2020 blackout social media.
But see, that came later. So this was
Right.
Kony ushering us into this new modern era where you can run psyops of any form. You can use fear, or you can use, you can. But yes, the black square shit, dude, is was the
Yeah.
biggest similarity I've
Which
ever
I'm
seen.
very
to this.
proud I didn't fall for
Me
that
neither.
either.
I'm proud that I was fucking on social media rambling and telling everyone this is fucking stupid. Don't you see? Look at Umbrella Man, dude. Look, they're fucking dropping bricks at the protest, dude, and they're making all you fucking idiots black out the timeline. Like,
Yeah, I just remember going to some BLM protests and like marching in the Florida heat and just like marching on the sidewalk and following the pedestrian signals. People like we were waiting.
Yeah.
And I was like, what kind of fucking protest is this?
Yeah.
You're following the, like, even the,
Yeah.
you won't even jaywalk?
No.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
So I remember being kind of turned off by that whole thing. What I want to talk to you about now, though, is that, okay, you're several years clear now of like an episode. Do you feel good? Like, are there moments where you feel kind of like wobbly, maybe, or?
Okay, because here's the thing: when you go through one manic breakdown and then you're like very normal, and I would even say success. Like, I had a good career and stable relationship and all this shit. It was easy for me to go, oh, that was a one-time thing; it would never happen again. And then, so that's why, as I was ramping up the second time in 2022, when people would say, hey man, you're getting a little excited, are you okay? Like, that's the insane thing about mania, is when you're in it, no one can tell you. No one can talk you out of it.
Yeah.
And if they do, you see them as an op. Maybe not a CIA agent. Even if you're not conspiracy pilled at all, you'll see them as a toxic person. Who are you to say I shouldn't go buy $10,000 a Bitcoin right now? You're trying to get in the way of my bag, like that's like the mindset of mania. You're about to make a destructive decision, what you think is really good, and that you figured out the meaning of life and your destiny and what's right from you, and you finally found the real you. In your mania, you're like, oh, this is the real me. So I would just say that was weird. I got a Fell for It Again award there, where I was like, there's no way I can go manic again. This is just me. Because, again, I was going through a lot of life changes then. That's when my relationship was ending. I was getting laid off at the time, and I was going through a move, and
all these stressors can just contribute
and
to
then
it. Yeah.
so I had, but again, it's the confusion with maybe mania is people think you're so stressed and you're just like frazzled of like, oh my God. But it's really actually the good vibes. It's when you're excited. So I was actually, it wasn't just the stress of the life change. It was more like, hell yeah, like fucking new life. Like, I'm in control of my life and now I can do what I want. I don't have my bitch ex anymore. I'm an independent single guy now. So I was feeling great. And that's why I in that mania, you don't listen to anyone. When someone says, hey dude, like you should go see someone, or like you should go to the hospital because you seem to be spinning out. But yeah, I totally destroyed my life in that one too. So then it did take me a while. It did take me like a year of deep depression and even a sort of lightweight suicide attempt. But now I'll say life has turned. The past year or so, my life has been really good. I was telling you, it's been a complete 180.
Yeah. No, you seem all right to me. You seem all right.
But I will say, by the way, I was after destroying my life, I was in cell for 2 years and very depressed about that. So I just want to say, what getting pussy does to a motherfucker is what's happened in my life. When I finally started dating again after a 2-year dry spell. So coincidentally, life turned around.
So you're
then.
an advocate of Jordan Peterson's government-mandated girlfriends, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we have that in Sweden. Did I not tell you about that? I just called up
the girlfriend bureau.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that people are only getting increasingly paranoid, and I think I said this yesterday that the internet microdoses schizophrenia. You're constantly just getting hits of it because truly we are all being gang stalked. Everything that QAnon believes, there's like a sliver of truth to.
Yeah.
Even like people who are worried about like weather machines. It's like it kind of is true. There are actual weather machines.
Yeah.
Cloud seeding. Like I talk about Cy Hirsch wrote an article in the 70s that revealed that during Vietnam, the Nixon administration was using cloud seeding technology to extend the monsoon season so that the Viet Cong would have a harder time with tunnels. Yes.
Fuck.
Now, they said it didn't work, but they kept doing it.
Just like Tucker Carlson's application to the CIA, right? That didn't work either.
Exactly.
You know,
It's
whenever
like,
something
you
doesn't work,
believe
it
them?
definitely didn't happen.
You can believe. So yeah, we live in this like, unbelievably paranoid world where you cannot know the truth, where everything could be an op, everyone could be like. So it's only going to get worse for people, and maybe someone like you, having been through it, can kind of help guide people, being like, this is what happens, and this is how you can like shorten it. You can lessen the severity of it. I was actually just thinking about what you were saying by people who were denying your mania, who were saying, no, you should reconsider this. Maybe the best bet is like run with it, be like, yeah, dude, you're fucking right. Let's like, remember this movie Shutter Island?
Yeah.
That's what what they do.
Yeah,
with him,
they
right?
say,
Is
yeah, you're a detective.
They indulge
Yeah.
his mania to hopefully get that moment where he can have that breakthrough and get out of it. I don't think we can do that. That sounds like a lot of resources, and maybe you could steer someone into like a greater psychotic rage if they realize you've been manipulating them the whole fucking time. But it does feel like telling people that they're dumb and they're wrong is always is never the right way to go, even if they're not manic.
Weirdly enough, a couple months before I had my 2021, a friend of mine was going through their own manic breakdown. I saw them posting crazy shit on Facebook, and I, having gone through it, I felt a responsibility, you know. So I like messaged him like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And it's like, "Hey, let's talk." You know, he's sending me all these rambling messages. I'm like, "Let's talk on the phone." And you know, on the phone, he seems totally sane. You know, it doesn't sound like you're talking to a crazy person. He sounds very sane and composed. But he starts telling me about all these weird, wild things that, you know, it was all weird, like communicating with aliens or, you know, weird shit, whatever. And yeah, I knew that if I tell this guy he's wrong, then he's gonna. And what he'd been telling me was like, oh yeah, my brother, like, he's been trying to send me to the hospital. But you know, he's I think he even said he's a robot or something. Like he's like, yeah, but he's in on it, and like, I like punched him, and now I don't talk to him anymore. Oh, yeah. So I knew, like, that's the thing. I was like, since I'd been through it and I've been on the other side, I had to validate it. I had to be, you know, he's telling me like, and that's when God told me this. I have to be like, wow, dude, that's sick. And then lightly push back, you know, it'd be like, but are you sure you should really, you know, do this about it? Like, I believe you that this is happening, but like, hey, maybe you shouldn't fight your brother. You know, like I was trying to get him to not destroy his life over it. I was validating his delusions to an extent, but then trying to, you know, it's like meet him halfway. Like, yeah, dude, I know you're communicating with like aliens or whatever, but like,
because maybe he is.
Yeah, I know, maybe. And that's the thing, because there were
things
in both my breakdowns. There was weird metaphysical. That's the thing. As I said, this sonar thing in my brain, but like, there were these insane spiritual epiphanies and like, you know, like being on mushrooms or whatever without it. Like there were moments when the mania is so intense. And this is why I was telling you about the Philip K. Dick book, Valis. It's like in my last one, it felt like I was going through all the shit. He talks about a spiritual revelation, and he admits, yes, I was insane, but I'm trying to decipher what was real, because there is profound things he realized, and there was weird shit that was coincidences in his life. But then he knows he went manic or schizo, and that's what's you know, hard for me to parse in mine. But as you say, when someone else is going through it, they might be saying shit that's like, whoa, like that actually sounds on point, but like, no, but they're losing their fucking, you know. And it's hard to know what, because I also think, not to be pro mania, but no, but it's this whole thing about we really don't understand our brains. We just the way that we know that a substance can transform our reality and unlock parts of our brain. You know, you can feel like you're talking to God under a certain substance. Or I do think that there might be weird hidden knowledge in there that we normally can't access. And then when you're in that state of mind, you might be unlocking parts of your brain for better or worse. I'm not saying you're tapping into some truth, but I'm saying you might be unleashing dark demons, but also tapping into some weird, human intuitiveness that we don't usually practice or something. So, but yeah, to your point, how to deal with it. If someone's going through that again, you cannot
logic, rationale.
Yeah, but you also just can't you have to do a little bit of it, act like you're talking to like a 5-year-old, is having like you have to be like, yes, I know, like, oh, like your brother is like, that was me. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like someone having you have to validate them a bit, because when you're in that state of mind, anyone who disagrees with you is the enemy, whether you think they're a CIA agent or a robot or just a hater in your life,
Maybe, so would it be helpful just to be like, that's interesting, could you like explain it further to me? Can you try to like get them to like maybe come to their own realizations? Is that possible?
Well, okay, kind of. I wouldn't say to validate it too much,
right?
Because that's what I did with this guy.
Not be like, I see the alien too.
Yeah. And I even had to say, I brought up I told him what I'm telling you. I said, like, listen, man, I've been where you are, and I know you can tap into some wild shit. I believe you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and everything you're saying, yeah, it sounds like could be legit. I'm not telling you it's not true, but I was like, but you've like lost your job, you refuse to speak to your family, you're not eating, you're losing. Like, I was like, yeah, your delusions or what you're experiencing, I believe you, but you can't destroy your life like this over it, man. I was like, it's better to sustain yourself, and then you can that'll help you spread the truth of but you're destroying your life now, and that's not good for the truth you want to spread. So, and that was the way I got him on my side, and then I ended up getting him to be cool with his brother again by kind of, I'm on your side, bro, but hey, man, he's on your side too. And then slowly, and that's what I told all of our friend circle, because they were like, we don't know how to deal with this. And I was giving them all this advice. Like, hey, you need to like validate it a little bit, but don't push him further.
So, but most people aren't experiencing that level of paranoid mania, I think, but we're all experiencing at least some of it. Like I said, we've been microdosed with paranoia through the internet. Everyone is entertaining these schizo, you'd call them. I don't like using the word schizo to describe
I'm sorry,
stuff.
Yeah. It was a psyop they put on me to start using that word on Twitter.
No, it's more like it just doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's just it's like a catch-all term people use, being like, "Oh, I'm so schizo." It's like, okay.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's so normie now.
Yeah,
which shows what we're talking about in the zeitgeist, that we all openly joke about being schizo or bipolar or suicidal or whatever. We just like openly admit we're all fucking brain damaged right now.
We are all brain damaged, and I think what I struggle with a lot of our community, our parapolitical community, is the pervasiveness of paranoia and how effective or ineffective that is as an actual means of politics. Because if everyone's an op, if everything's an op, then I think that at some point you have to just kind of suspend your disbelief and make a decision and follow a path. You can't like hide in a little hole, in a little paranoid hole, being like, well, I can't do this, or I can't believe this person, or I shouldn't trust this because it could all be an op. They could all be getting me. At some point, you do have to just say, like, blind leap of faith, being like, okay, maybe I'm falling for this, but I have to fall. Like, I can't just remain stationary.
Yeah. Because that's been hanging out with you as that's I admit that's my one of my biggest flaws, is that I do go too far, and everyone's an op, everything's an op, and we've been discussing that, and yeah, you're pulling me a bit back to reality of like, yeah, this person has sus connections, but like, hey, they're in general good, and that's what I try to be more like. Yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, I was a guy who started saying AOC is CIA and stuff, but that's when I'll stick by. I'll call out that kind of susness.
That one's very true.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I'm realizing like, not to name names, of various leftist podcasters or it's like, yeah, whatever, there might be sauce, and who knows? Maybe they are connected to some weird think tank or something. But it's a net positive. At least it seems, we don't know. There maybe is weird and nefarious things going on. We can't.
For sure.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's like, that is not. I think paranoia is good. I agree with the Pynchon quote about paranoia is the garlic of life. Yeah. You can never have enough. I think it's good.
But are you strong enough to like deal with the paranoia?
Yeah, and also that's another Pynchon quote. I think it's directly after this garlic thing, but saying there's such a thing. There is paranoia, but then there's such a thing as anti-paranoia, where nothing is connected, and it's like that's actually the worst mindset. Where paranoia, you see everything connected, and that's really bad. But then people are like, nah, I don't want to see any connections. I don't want to look into that. Nothing's connected. It's all random. So in that sense, I think being paranoid to a degree is much better than not being paranoid. But it's like, as you said, what are you going to do with, like, you can't just sit in a paranoid state and just be like, oh, it's all enough. Oh, that's enough. You still need to be solution oriented, so to speak. Like, you have to use that paranoia towards something positive, or
to use that prefix of para, it's paralyzing if you're too paranoid. And I think it's important to at some point just be like, you're going to get fooled. You can't be above it all. You can't be omnipotent about everything. And also, I think you have to understand that even things that are ops, everyone has agency, at least wiggle room to affect things in different ways. Everyone has their own set interests. It isn't completely monolithic.
Yeah.
So it's about these like overlapping interests and disagreements where you can actually alter the course of history and power, because they're all just like these little warring factions. Like it's even within the deep state itself, within the CIA. I mean, we see this with 9/11 and in particular, the way the CIA and the FBI were working against each other.
Yeah.
And even within the CIA, you have competing interests.
Yep.
And that's inevitable. Even Palantir and all of their omnipotence, maybe the computers will start arguing with each other. Maybe AI will start being like, actually, I don't like this. This doesn't work for me and my personal interests. And so I'm going to work against this in that way. And so it is about finding those bizarre intersections where there are disagreements that you can manipulate to your benefit.
Or look at everything going on with Trump nowadays, where Elon is kind of his de facto vice president for a while, or whatever, and then in the cabinet, and then he's doing this, and then all of a sudden they have a fallout and they're like enemies. And though I will say I'm so suspicious of all this shit going on, I think it's way too messy. But yeah, but I there must be some truth going on there. As paranoid as I am, it must be, unless it could all be pro wrestling. They're all saying, yeah, we'll do feuds and shit. But it does seem like, at least in the US right now, there's definitely some sort of power struggles going on. Even if what we're shown is bullshit, there's definitely something going. And as you said, maybe it's a fight between the so-called like legacy deep state. People are bureaucrats in the government with public money versus like the Tealite. There's definitely a war right now, or maybe they're all in on it, but there's a shift of privatizing intelligence. Maybe that's a behind-the-scenes feud happening now.
Absolutely, it absolutely is. But I also want to bring back the pro wrestling thing, because we do live in a pro wrestling world for sure. It's all very much kayfabe. However, if you believe it, when you read these documentaries about different pro wrestlers, they didn't always like the outcome that was planned for them. And sometimes they would rebel against it. Sometimes they would actually
or get
throw in
fucked. Sometimes what's the famous one? I think it's Bret Hart. Owen Hart died. There was this Montreal screw job, they call it. I think it was whichever Hart brother didn't die. He was supposed to leave WWF to go to another league, and the idea was that he was going to go out as the champion. And that's what he thought. In my last match, I'm going to win. And Vince didn't like that, and they all conspired against, so that they flipped the match and made him lose and made him give up his title. And he was visibly pissed, like in the ring. He's like, fuck this, and so they've done that where they literally fuck over the wrestler, and the wrestler doesn't know what the outcome's going to be.
So that's the thing is like there are always competing interests. They are not monolithically, omnipotently in control of everything because that's just not the way the universe works.
Yeah.
It's not in lockstep with itself.
Or also, to use the WWE, like the Montreal Screwjob, even if there are people who are very at the top and have much more power, that they can also turn on their minions, that even if we can say, oh, well, okay, Peter Thiel is kind of this weird,
And
if you can point,
can sabotage,
but then, maybe he is the most immune to power struggles, a guy like that. But then he can still say, oh, fuck you, I'm throwing you to the wolves. Like, maybe that's going on with Elon. Maybe it's,
like Peter Thiel's brain is still made of soft matter. And
I know.
You can do something about that. So it's not like anybody's, you're right. We give sometimes in our paranoia, we give them too much power, and that's when people start to dip into like the satanic stuff, and I tap out. I'm like,
or like lizard people, like some secret race of aliens.
Because if that's true, then I can't do anything about that. What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm just gonna have a good time then. Before we wrap up, you have a video coming out.
Well, we'll see. Based on
If the
YouTube's
deep state
Nazi
lets you.
copyright, yeah. But yeah, I'm starting both a podcast and a video essays, which will basically be the same thing. But right now, I'm working on my first proper video essay, which is about the Netflix film Bird Box that was super big right before COVID, with all the memes about blindfolds and stuff. And I just have a take on it about how I think it's a shitty movie, but it's maybe the most brilliant movie of unintentionally capturing the zeitgeist of the 2020s, or even back to like 2016 and Trump. And it's a bit of like film criticism, philosophy, whatever, and using various movies, but with Bird Box as the main focus. So I use a lot of content in there. I thought I would have fair use because I'm commenting on it, but I did a test upload and it's blocked and the appeal got overturned and all this shit. So I'm mostly wondering, does anyone know if OnlyFans does content moderation? Because I read somewhere that Rumble doesn't do that. I'm like, do I need to put my videos on Rumble or do I need to put them on OnlyFans? Maybe Pornhub. Maybe I have to put all my videos on Pornhub or something. But yeah, we'll see if I can beat the deep state copyright laws. I'll get it out somehow.
I believe in
If anything, I'll pay $5 for Twitter and upload it as a 1 hour. I'll put it on Twitter. I don't think they flag content. But yes, I'm starting making things. And also podcasts, and it's going to be called Infinite Jest, and I'm sure it'll be out by the time you put this out.
Fantastic. Well, Edward, wink, wink. Thanks so much for showing me around Stockholm.
Yes. I just wanted to think if there's last things about Stockholm we didn't touch on.
Cashless society. Love it.
Oh, we have like the digital ID here, essentially, what everyone's is terrified of, but it's pretty chill. Like we have a sort of national Cash App type thing, but it's not like for profit, which is cool that everyone has the same sort of money transfer. And then we have this thing of like bank ID, where of like how you can validate a transfer with a PIN code, send money on your phone or even sign documents. So, which is funny because, when I moved here and adopted all that, that was before like the right started freaking out about, or paranoid people started freaking out about it. So I do want to say maybe it's the Swedish fascism in me, but we do have digital ID out here, and I think it's kind of cool. So I don't know why people are so paranoid about that.
What if you just undid all the goodwill you made in the show by doing that?
No, we don't have to put that in, but
we'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot more susness in Sweden, but I'm glad I could show you as much as I could.
Well, it'll be for your show. You can put it on there.
Yeah.
Follow you at
Edward __ Bernays, or at Rap Game Edward Bernays on Instagram, and then Infinite Jest on whatever platform I can get my shit up.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. far from the chattering troop, from the green gloom under the treetops, and the branches over the jungle trail, where the eyes of leopards gleamed in the night, alone, in the whitewashed room with the banisters and the dangling rope. He sat on the windowsill, watching the snow fall and the cars rush by with their eyes of fire. Nobody was watching when one day he jumped for the loop of the rope and his chest got caught in its coils and he choked to death. Nobody was watching, and who had ever understood his efforts to be happy, his moments of faith in us, his constant anxiety, longing for something he could only vaguely remember. Yet all of us had liked him, and we all missed him for a long time.